Hey everyone, my name's Andy from Finding Value Finance. Today we've got a good friend Casper with us. It's at Uselink INV if you want to follow him on Twitter or YouTube. Uh,
Yes.
so, yep. So thanks for coming on, Casper. Really appreciate it to have you with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure as always.
So, I think, well, my opinion is, I think a lot of stuff's happened over the past couple of weeks since we've talked last. Seems like we've had some things go on. I mean, I've seen the DXY have a really sharp kind of sell off past,
Yeah.
I don't know, about past week, I should say. We've seen things that looks like to me that things are breaking out of patterns, downtrend lines and stuff like that to the upside. Um, what are you seeing in the markets? What are some things that you deem as very important in the markets that you're seeing? Maybe some important breakouts, or maybe they haven't broken out, and
Mhm.
maybe you can show us, ones that haven't broken out yet. So what are you seeing in the markets? What do you want to talk about here?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly with regarding to the dollar. It's just the past week has just been one big downtrend or breakdown, whatever you want to call it. And I actually saw a funny tweet on Twitter that the exact day or the day after what's her name, Janet Yellen arrived in China, the dollar collapsed. So deals were made. That's what I said. What was I? That was what I retweeted. So I think something were discussed and yeah, but uh,
Okay.
but yeah. So.
So what are you seeing in the markets right now that you're like, you look at the chart, you pull it up, and you're just like, wow, this is very important or very interesting. Is there anything that you're looking at right now that kind of gives you that feeling?
Yeah, I have one which is a currency pair I think we should look at. It's the US dollar against the Swiss franc, the CHF. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
share my screen here if I'm allowed to. Yes, it seems like it. And really what this is, I don't look at the currency pairs that often or that much, but in the past 1 month, I think I've started to do it more on a weekly basis. And just to show you, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. And just to show you what I'm looking at here, so this is a downtrend channel here for this currency pair. And what I want to show you is what happened back in the 70s. You can clearly see it right here. Let's take a quick line here. This was the big move for gold right here, all the way down, where you can see that the US dollar lost like 60% against the Swiss franc. Then again, we had similar move here back in the early 2000s and all the way down to the lower. Uh, and then gold again rallied like 8 times here. And what I'm looking at right now is actually this bear flag, which is breaking down to the downside here. So I can show it right here. There it is. So this to
Ooh.
me is a huge breakdown for um, for this currency pair. And if history repeats, gold and silver, at least gold should break into the new highs within a short period of time if this continues to break down here, in my view.
Yeah, so each one of those periods is tied to a commodity bull market, correct? The
Yes, it really is.
70s, 2000s, and even right now.
Yeah. And this in the middle here was just, the aftermath of the bull market in the 80s, and then gold didn't do much here, and then it started again like 20 years later. So yeah, this if this continues to break down, gold silver will do insanely well for sure.
And would you say that we're basically just beginning this move then?
Yes, I think we are. I think as we always do, I think when gold and silver will break out, I think we could probably have a retest, as you know. And if it's confirmed and it's break down below this pivot low here, then I think gold and silver will break above gold will break above the all-time high, and silver will get above the 26, which is my level for the big move up for silver. So yeah, I find that quite interesting actually. This currency pair here. So
Yeah, and I
and
see in the
remember, I have a
70s.
yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think the rate of change that this thing moves down at, do you think that's at all going to be related to the size of the commodity bull market that is coming? How fast the
I don't
dollar
know.
falls? Hmm.
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at that, but I think we can try to measure and see if there was some sort of a actually it moved roughly, let's call it 60-65% the past two times.
Hmm.
And but gold here did way more compared to here, so I don't think there is a relation between these two. But
I
uh,
got you.
but I think we will get all the way down to the lower side of these two bad boys here. So at least let's call it a 45% drop. Let's right there. Let's call it 40 to get to the lower band of this long channel here.
Okay.
And so yeah, it looks good in favor of gold at least.
Now, usually what I do is when I see these charts, like you get the US dollar and the Swiss franc, and I see it break to the downside, we should be seeing a break to the upside for gold, silver, and a lot of these commodities, right?
Yeah,
Is,
true.
is that what we're seeing?
I can just quickly let's look at gold because that was one we discussed the most. I mean, this is a longer term. I'm just going to remove all the lines here, and this is basically where you can maybe I'll try to overlay the USD. Just one second here, just to give a view of how and where we uh, right there. So you can clearly see this was the excuse me for waiting so long. There it is. This was the low, then we have the bear flag roughly here. It's a quick sketch, but still you get the point, right? This was the low, and there, like, uh, there it is. So you can see now every time that we have made the highs here, that we are also at the lows of this. So in my view, I think the time period with this back to 2011 clearly matches the high back then, and now we're going to resume again, which is also where we are going to break out to the upside. So the correlation is just on point in my view.
Here's a question. Is there any way you take that orange line and invert that ratio?
Yes, you can do that.
I just want to see what it looks like and how it matches up.
It's looking like this. Perfection, more or less, right? So
Yeah.
we can do the line
I,
chart just to give a bit of like that. So
I could see it in the chart and do it in my head, but I just wanted to make sure
yeah,
everyone understands that relationship.
yeah, yeah, really.
Yep.
And I think if you take it for the past 50 years, you will see similar correlation from the 2000 to 2011 and so on. So yeah, it's almost a perfect match. So
Yeah, and I think every single time we've had that, we've had a housing market boom. So that means the housing market may boom again
yeah, it
at
makes
some
sense. Yeah,
point.
it makes sense. Yeah,
Yep.
I would say so
Uh,
too.
yeah, yeah. So that looks really good. And so you think maybe perhaps gold could take a run here within the next what 4 weeks
Yeah,
sooner?
2 months maybe, 8 weeks or
Yeah.
so. And the reason why I want to show you is we have the triple top, and I just want to show what usually happens at a triple top, at least the way I see it. This was the first top, and we had a big correction, and then the correction got, let's call it, bigger and bigger. Usually they get shorter and shorter, but this one was a fake out to the downside. And now we have the third touch, and this one right here will be a lot shorter compared to the other two. And that's when you get the fourth touch of a big trend line. In this case, it's horizontal, but usually that's when you get the breakout to the upside. Also, if you go into the daily, so we're looking like back to 2 months or so, I will show you that we had this falling wedge coming down here all the way, and we broke out last week. Looks very good. And you can also take this one all the way over here, more or less perfection to the retest of this. We had a bit of an undercut or whatever you want to call it, still perfectly fine. But the technicals here, the retest into a massive trend line here, and the wedge, it looks really good. And if we were to do some period just to see how long time it could take, or just to see when we could break out, if this move has some symmetry to it, you can see it here. So we could, if we're lucky, we could look at late August if this has symmetry to it. So
Yeah, so
it's
four
going
to
to be
six
nice to
weeks
see if
maybe.
this. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. 6 weeks or so. Yeah, that's true.
That looks good. And
It really does.
since gold looks so good, what are your thoughts on silver? Like
I
is
mean,
it yeah, is it the same type of thought process? Looks just as good?
it looks good, but in a different way. Because gold were hitting the exact level at 2070 roughly every time,
Mhm.
but silver has been in a more of a bull flag or consolidation mode where you have lower highs all the way down. And in my view, as mentioned, when we break this high here at around 26, that's also when we will get the big move up from this very long term um, consolidation, basically.
Mhm.
So we are only like, what is it, like a few $1, $1.25 away from that breakout. So it's getting close. I think it's been a while, but
So would
yeah, I think
if we break
yeah.
if we if we break the 26 level, is this the moon time or do we go up to like another level and have to consolidate more as we go on up? What's your
I
opinions
think it
around that if we
yeah.
do break? Mhm.
I think it's somewhat similar to gold. We have currently at 50, we have two touches right now. And then I think once we break, you can actually extend this one, by the way, all the way out to the 2011 high. So that's why I think it's when we break this golden trend line and the 26, more or less a bit above 26, that's also when you get the the move all the way up to the 50. So then that would be the third touch, just like we saw in gold. So it could look somewhat like this. I'll try to make a rough sketch of it, and then all the way back down to 35, and then we could have the fourth touch and the go for silver, the big go. But that will be later on in like 24 at some point in time before we get that
Have you
big
ever
break of the
looked
50.
have
Yeah.
you ever looked at the silver chart through the lens of a yearly candlesticks?
No, I usually don't have it on the yearly, but we can do that. No problem.
And I just want to know if that changes your analysis if you use the closing prices on the yearly.
Okay. Yeah. Again, the big 28 what is 28 30 level. We can just make a parallel channel across here. So
I'm just going to make you more bullish. That's all I'm going to say.
yeah, yeah, we are close. We are close for sure. But again, it will be again. I still think when we break the 30, I mean 26 will be the go, the initial go, and then
Yep.
the 30 will be the big level. But I still think we'll have some sort of a move like this. Um,
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So
that that that, that oops, that's my
if
take
we
on it. So
if we close on the yearly at like mid 30s and break out of that pattern, I mean that would you say that's go time? As in, obviously it's on a longer term time frame, but would that mean that there's some validity to that breakout, breaking it this year above 31, 32?
yeah, I think again I have my goal level at the 26 and this falling golden channel. That's in my head. That's when we are says okay, we are about to go. Obviously, we have the 2020 highs at around 30, which would be the next resistance. But again, in my view, that will be it should be very short-lived, in my view, due to this break of this channel here, of this trend line here. So I don't know about on a yearly because I don't look on yearly candles that much. But again, my take is 26 and then a good weekly close about that. In my view, then you all bets should be long. Yeah, to the long side. So
Do you think? I mean, silver is a pretty volatile commodity, and I mean, once it gets moving, sometimes it gets moving.
yeah, it does.
Do
Yeah.
you think if we break 26 that we're just, I mean, that we're gonna like send it, like, and I'm not saying with like 100% probability. What I'm saying is from a buyer's perspective, if you're going to go and you want to speculate in silver, should we position before the trend line break, or should we wait for the trend line to break then get long? Because I know in silver sometimes when it goes, it just keeps going. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
it
pull
does.
back much. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
I think it will, silver will do nothing for like 95% of the time. It just does nothing, right? And then you get the move in the last 5% of that period. And you can clearly see it if you go back, the moves that you get once you have any big breakouts. Just like let's go back to the 2011. You have this, once we broke this golden trend line here, it was just a one-way street to the 50. And this right here, in my view, are somewhat similar. You can see it there. So it will be again, it should be a quick trip to 50 uh, once we break that trend line.
So if we break to 50 though, then we've got a yearly breakout of the larger cup and handle.
Yeah, on the yearly, yes, but I still think you will get a snap pullback because all the momentum traders and the ones who are purely trading silver from SLV or futures, whatever, will take a lot of profit at that point, and then they will enter at a later stage again. That's my take. That's usually what you see. So that's purely traders taking profits at that point, and then we'll
Okay.
get a pullback, a minor pullback, just like we saw on gold after we had the third touch, and then we should relaunch again after that at around 40, maybe even down to 35. But it will be a steep drop, I think, at that point
And
before we
then
go.
what's that?
Yeah, we'll have a steep drop from 50 down to like 44, 35 maybe, and then we will blast through after that correction.
And you think all these are going to be kind of correlated with each other, gold, silver, and even platinum? You think they're all going to move together, or do you think they're going to have their certain times in the sun at different, you know, at different time frames?
I think overall they will move together, but if you look at a shorter time frame, uh, they will probably move um, not in sync with each other. But if you look on a yearly or 2-year basis, they will go higher and higher. But shorter term, they will have their own
Mhm.
moves up and down. But yeah.
So what about what's your
Also,
okay? So you've got a projection on there or something?
yeah, I just want to show you from the lows here to the highs here, and the 100% measured move is roughly around the 50. So it makes sense in my view to get to that point. So this move here will be the same move that we get if we break the 26.
And what about platinum? Like, do you see the same type of setup there as maybe gold and silver? Because
Um,
those both look good.
yeah, yes and no. They look good, but if we can go to the shorter time frame, not short, it's a 3 years, it's quite long, but still, it
Yeah.
is it is somewhat similar, and yet again we have a, a different setup in my view. In my view, we still have to break above. We have this golden trend line you can see here coming down, which is also the neckline, in my view, for
Hmm.
this big inverted head and shoulders that we are trying to make here. And again, once we break above, in this case, around, let's call it 1140, 1150, a good weekly close above that, then in my view, we will have confirmed this big inverted head and shoulders, which is I think it's a 2.5 year long inverted head and shoulders. And the measured move from that is 1600 roughly for this small pattern here in the shorter, in quotes, shorter term time frame. When we look, if we go to the more monthly time frame, it's a different beast because you have this long term downtrend coming down right here. So again, once we get above, when we get to like let's call it 1600s, we will get a pullback, but you can still see we have broken a massive long term downtrend here, the resistance, and we are going higher from that point, but we will have a pullback before we do go higher from the 1600s. So depending on the time frame, short term, actually mid term and long term, platinums is starting to look really good here, but it still has some work to do to get above, yeah, the 1100-ish, 1150. So
Okay. And I'm not sure if I see this one on the list there, but do you ever look at palladium?
yes, I do. I'm glad you asked because no one is posting a chart of Palladium actually on Twitter, at least from what I can see.
Hmm.
But I have a chart like this. Let's go to the monthly just to show you guys, and just to pinpoint this long-term golden trend line. If you can keep that one in mind when we zoom in here. So let's zoom in and go to the weekly.
Because I,
This is
I
where
I
we are right
watch
now.
I watch palladium and it looks like it's almost ready to bottom out at some point.
Yeah, I totally agree. We did break down from this blue neckline here, or support. Um, and a retest. But I think this retest was the wave number 4, and then we have number 5 here. Because if you zoom into this falling wedge that we have for Palladium, we have the 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5 at the exact
Yep.
long-term resistance coming back from like a decade or two. I think this is just setting up for a massive move to the upside here. And if we can break the blue resistance here and the long-term green, which was support but is now resistance, I think we can catch a lot of people short on that side of the equation. So yeah, it starts to look good, but still we have to get the confirmation and get the snap and get above. In my case right now, in order to confirm it, we have it right there, around 16. What is it? 30. Then we have the full confirmation that platinum could go higher.
Yeah, then I think all the platinum group metal producers could do really well down here too.
Yes, I agree.
Just
Because they
because
have been
rhodium,
hammered.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because then all the platinum group metals would be going up. They'd all be looking pretty strong at
Yeah.
that point.
But it looks like platinum and palladium is really trying to put in a good, decent bottom right here. It will take some time to put in the bottom, but it looks actually quite good, to be honest. But you need patience in order to play that game. It's a long-term weekly chart here, so it's not tomorrow that will break out. It might be later on in Q4, Q1 next year, maybe, depending on.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Gives you time to accumulate. That's what I always look
yeah,
at.
exactly. At least,
Yeah.
yeah.
What other sectors?
I think we will end the show, not to drag it out, but I think we've forgotten about the gold to silver ratio. I think it's a good way to. We started with gold and
Okay,
silver. Now we take the gold and silver ratio at the end of
sure.
it. And I think you have noticed it already. Just want to remove some of the stuff here. Again, we have the first, the second touch, third touch, and what did we have on the fourth touch? Again, like we talked about on gold and silver, a breakthrough.
Yep. Yep.
This is very, very, very bullish for gold and silver because a breakdown in this ratio, meaning gold and silver will go up big time. And it is a very long-term pattern here, going back 2 years roughly. So
Yeah.
that's really, really good for gold and silver and platinum, overall commodities. That's really, really good. There are
Well,
multiple things in place here. You have you have the wedge here, or the expanding wedge. You have the head and shoulders breakdown. This is good. This is really good for gold and silver. And that's, in my view, that's also why we're going to break out. As we started to talk about in the early of the interview, gold and silver is looking pretty damn good here.
yeah, we're just gonna go straight to 500. That's what your prediction is, right?
Not straight, maybe in the
I'm
end
just
game,
kidding.
but
I'm kidding.
maybe end game we will go to 500. But
Yeah.
for now, we have to look at what's in front of us for the next year or two, and
Yeah.
then we can look at it after that. But it looks insanely good.
Well, that's good.
It looks really, really good.
And you have a bigger head and shoulders there too.
Exactly. I was just going to mention you have
It's
the bigger
like,
one here. So it's
yeah,
just
there's a whole
bearish
bunch.
on bearish on bearish. It's just this chart is just begging to break down. This was the big blow off top to the upside, the March 2020
Yep.
um, shenanigans right there. And now we're going to go all the way down to the lower side or the other side of the pendulum,
Yeah.
which in my view, and I've said that before on the show, I think this commodity bull market or the gold silver bull market could end in intraday single digit numbers. So let's just leave it there. That's
Just
big.
like
I
my
know.
5-year-old would say, 8 million billion.
Exactly. I like him. I agree with him. So yeah, it looks really good for gold and silver right here, right now. So let's see if we can have a talk in like a month or two, and hopefully this weekly candle was the start of a bigger move in the precious metals.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Hopefully, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
I'm
we can
positioned
only,
for it.
yeah,
Let's do this thing.
yeah, me too, me too. Energies, gold and silver, oil, and so on. Yeah, let's go.
Yep. All right, that's all I've got, Casper. I don't have anything else. So, I mean, we
I
covered a
mean,
lot
neither.
there.
Yeah, we didn't look at any
Um,
ratios, but let's take that next time.
yep, we
Like
can do that.
uranium to uranium to Nasdaq and so on. We can look at that next time. But for now, I think
Sure.
this was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for coming on. And if people wanted to
My
reach
pleasure.
out to you, how are they going to do that?
As you mentioned previously or early in the interview, Uselink INV on Twitter and YouTube. That's where I do all of my all of my stuff. So please follow, and I hope you like what I do.
Awesome. I do like what you do.
Thank you.
So, yep.
Likewise,
So that's what we've got for today, guys. If you made it this far, put down in the comments section Casper rocks,
he
and
does.
that's what we've got for today. So we'll catch you guys later. I'll bring them on maybe in a month or something like that, and we can get some more updates.
Sounds good.
All right. See you, everyone.